all red and you're just like, how do I get out of here? Well, that's actually called an awkward situation, and everyone goes through awkward situations, so like don't feel left out or awkward about it. And I'm one of those persons that go through it like almost every day. And today I'm gonna inform you about what an awkward situation is and how to avoid them. And I feel like I can talk about this because like, well, I'm 19. I'm going through that stage where I'm trying to like figure out what I want, and like I've been through so many awkward situations where I'm just by myself or with my friends or with my family, and they all laugh at me. But it's like I don't even get hurt anymore because it's just something that I do on a daily basis. So learning what an awkward situation is and how to avoid them allows people to like avoid the embarrassing feeling, because nobody wants to feel embarrassed, nobody wants to be put on the spot, nobody wants to turn red. So like there's several ways to avoid them. So first I'm going to describe what an awkward situation is, then I'm going to talk about why it's like a social aspect and why everyone can relate to it, and finally I'm going to give you like several examples of like how to avoid them. So first, to understand what an awkward situation is, I will describe them and the emotions they bring. So right here, like some awkward situations are flirting gone bad. Like you can come off as creepy or like weird, like trying to flirt with the guy or with the girl, and you're just like, okay, back away, like I don't know you. Or you can like forget people's names, and that's something I do. I'm like, wait, I just like stare at their faces. I'm like, okay, I know that person, but I forgot their name. So I'm just gonna like casually talk to them and try to figure out like if they introduce themselves again. Or meeting your friends' friends, like that's something that everyone goes through. Like when you go to a party and you're just like, oh, I don't want to go because I don't know anyone. And you're just like with your friends, like, oh, I'll introduce you, but it's just like weird because you can come off as weird, or you can just be like, I don't know, just don't say anything at all. Something that happens a lot is telling a joke and getting no response. Using someone else's toilet. I got that in like 21 examples of awkward situations, because like you can be using the restroom and they could be like constantly knocking and telling you to hurry up, and you're just like, okay. And some of the emotions that they bring is like embarrassment, fear, and shame. And here's a picture of like this person like talking, and no one in the middle thinks that they're talking, but it's just like, what? Like that's me right there. Like, oh hey, and you're just like, oh, I'm not talking to you. So Webster's dictionary defines awkward as an embarrassment and situation as a problem. So when you put it together, it's like an awkward situation, because I tried looking it up, but it didn't really like give me a solid answer. So I just like researched both the words and I just put it together and made up my own definition. So why awkward situations are like a social aspect? Well, in an article, Awkward Moments and Interactions Between Non-Stigmatized and Stigmatized Individual, everyone goes through an awkward situation because of an underlying fear that an individual possesses. So some underlying fears are fear of loss, death, pain, rejection, or the unknown. So if you're like going for a job interview and you don't get the job, you get that feeling of rejection, and then you're just like, you make yourself like this awkward like little person. You're just like, I don't want to go do this anymore, I don't want to go do that, and you just don't want to like face the world. And it's better just to like there's not going to be a day where we don't face rejection, so it's just, we should just get like used to it. And in an article in the American Psychological Association by Kristen Weir, she states embarrassment that comes from an awkward situation is normal because it's the easiest thing to trigger in an individual. Standing up here, I feel embarrassed, or I'm pretty sure everyone relates to that. Or when you're like ordering food and you say the wrong name, they look at you weird and you get embarrassed, and it's just like awkward because then you stay quiet, and then it's like that moment of silence where you're just looking at each other's eyes and you're just like, okay, give me my food, or tell me how much I owe you. And here are some more pictures of like what some people do. Some people cover their face. That's how they feel inside when they're in an awkward situation. They like want to cry, they want to leave. And this one is from a book that I read. It's called Hyperbole and a Half. It's a really funny book. And it's like when they ask you like, what are you doing? Like, I'm trying to talk to you. And you're like, oh, okay, no, I don't want to talk to you. And well, now I'm going to talk about how to avoid awkward situations. And well, something that I do a lot, and is I tend to laugh at something that's really not funny, and then individuals around me they just look at me all weird because they're like, that's not really funny, what are you doing? So there's this article that Christopher Hutchinson
and he advises us on ways to avoid awkward situations. And I think one that we can all relate to is always having our phones in our hands, because when we're walking, we can avoid talking to people we don't want to talk to. We can avoid eye contact and stuff. And in the article Awkward Moments, the author advises us to, like, if we're freaking out in an awkward situation, it's just best to, like, take a deep breath and remember that you're not the only one who goes through this. Yeah, so first, I described awkward situations, and then I talked about the social aspect, and I gave you a little bit about how I deal with them, and finally I gave you examples to avoid them. So I hope you guys learned from me, and just remember that there won't be a day where we don't encounter awkward situations, and it's best to just take a deep breath and remember that it's going to be okay.